you've been thinking about fishing a big river, but you're not sure what to do, you have found the right video. So I'm going to tell you, don't get too hung up on where to fish, because if you're not sure, there's just two places that I would always suggest to start with. One is find a boat ramp, and if you're fishing off a boat ramp like I'm doing today, always be considerate of the boaters. As far as I know, there's no ramps that want you fishing off the actual ramps. So today we'll just be fishing just right off the ramp. Shouldn't be in the way of anybody. So always take that into consideration. And the second place I would suggest is look for dams. Just go fish your nearest dam. Odds are there'll be other people fishing there. You could always learn from them. That is a lot of how I learned to fish dams, was just going, maybe not knowing exactly what to do, but seeing how other people are doing it and adjust accordingly. So this is one of my favorite styles, because I'm going to fish with whole live bluegill, and that's what we're going to hook up first. I'm fortunate enough to, right here where I'm fishing, I'm able to go catch the bluegill before I get started on the river. And when I do this, and a lot of this just depends on what river you're fishing and how much current you have. Like right here, I've got a 3-ounce slide sinker. So I've got my slide sinker, I've got my bead to protect my knot, I've got a swivel. And when I go to tie this, what I'll do is I'll tie the swivel first, and then I'll take and cut off about 2 feet to 30 inches, and then I'll cut it, and then I'll put my bead and my swivel on, flip it over, tie that with the polymer knot. I've got this tied with the polymer knot, and I'll add a link to a good video on tying polymer knots in the description. Alright, so we're going to get this tied. I'm probably not going to have enough tag line, but you're going to hear me say this a few times in the videos. Just don't worry too much about it. Just get out here, get your bait in the water, see what happens. They're probably not as picky as you are, and if they are, well, then you may go home empty-handed. Do not get the hook caught in your lip. Although that may be a fashion statement, I gotta imagine it's not a fun one. I've actually had a hook in my thumb before. So make sure you stick around. Throughout this video, you're gonna see us catch some great fish. Fishing's always so much fun. And out here on the river like this, fishing with big bait, really, you end up, every now and then you just really get lucky and hook something really nice. All right. So when I fish with these whole live bluegill, I could have used a little bigger treble hook. I'm trying to sharpen my damn knife.
Next week's episode.
Oh shit. Alright, so I just got a treble hook, and I think this one's like a number 6. If I would have had bigger ones, I would have used bigger ones. And what I'll do is I'll take and I'll just hook that in their back. And when you get here, you're always going to want to look for, like, just because you're here, you're not sure where to cast. Well, fortunate enough, we've got a real nice creek coming out right here. And I've got Spencer here again with me today. And I'm going to have Spencer cast off towards that creek because I think that's going to be a really good spot. And I'm going to just cast straight off, straight out here, because the fish would just be coming, just swirling around in here. And it's not necessarily a case where you have to fish, 100 yards out in the middle to catch them. They're going to come, it's starting to get dark, and they're going to come up here to feed. So even if you're not way out there, we've hooked into plenty of them just 15, 20 feet right off the bank. So keep that in mind. We're going to hook up this bluegill and give this thing a cast. is what I was talking about before, about the whole live bluegills. We're gonna pick him up out of the water. Get down there, stretch, fat boy. We got him. Heck yeah! It's a nice little flat head. Before you, whatever bait you use, make sure you have the proper fishing license and make sure you're aware of whatever regulations. In Indiana, you can use any fish for bait that's legally caught as long as it's a legal size limit. There is no size limit on bluegills. Yeah, so another thing I'll mention is, like, I bought this rod, it came stocked with line. I tend to just put 20-pound test on my catfish rods. I know people use a lot more than that. I tend to just use monofilament. Granted, I've never caught like a 100-pounder, but between me and my uncle, we're fishing basically the same style. We've caught 30s and 20s. He caught a 50. Like I said, we're just using the same style. And like in last year's video, when I was fishing with my buddy Brian, you know, he believes firmly in fishing with 6-pound test. Now, I don't know about fishing exactly this style, but if you've got your drag set right and you understand how to fight the fish, you should have no problems catching anything with 20-pound test. Nice and easy, however far out I can. So we're going to talk about setting the hook and landing the fish. And these are a couple things. Now, fishing with Spencer so much, I'm learning. I grew up fishing. Like, I was talking to another friend of mine, and you know, they've been fishing since before they can remember. I've been fishing since before I can remember. So somebody who hasn't been fishing that much to where they're just really starting off at zero, we skip a lot of steps whenever we're talking. So we expect different things. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to get a good bite, right? So if the rod takes off, obviously pick it up and set the hook. And by setting the hook, what you're really doing, it's like a backwards baseball swing. Instead of hitting a baseball this way, really you're hitting a baseball this way. That's really what setting the hook is. You're swinging a golf hook. You're just jerking it up behind you, right? So when we get that good hook set, the next thing we're going to try and do is we're going to keep our rod tip high. We're going to keep pressure on that fish, and we're going to reel, right? Now, hopefully I talk some of these big fish into existence, and what will happen is they'll take off. They'll run. Okay, so when they go to run, if you keep grinding on that reel, what's happening is you're going to twist that line, and the line's going to break. So we're not going to do that. So when they go to run, we're going to we're not going to put our rod tip flat to the ground, but we're going to bring our rod a little bit closer to the water, and we're going to stop reeling and let it run. And then it's going to slow down. We're going to keep pressure on it the whole time. As soon as you feel it start slowing down, you reel, you kind of reel down, and then you lift the fish back to you, you reel down, and you lift the fish back to you. All right, so I thought about this before we ever even got set up. Now, I fished out here plenty. But when you're fishing these bigger waters, and especially someplace like this where it's pretty crazy, you have to think about how and where you're going to land your fish. And I know if we catch one, we're going to try and land it like right here. I've got rocks I can step onto. Now they're going to be really slick, and if we have to, we're going to be wet. I did not bring a net. I don't even have fish grabbers with me, so we're just catching fish by hand. It ain't gonna be a problem. That being said, sometimes if the fish takes off, you may have to go after it, because, and this happened to me last year when I caught that 20-pound blue cat, is it runs all the way up against the bank. Now, if I try and drag that fish all the way against the bank this way, odds are it's going to end up rolling in shallow water and popping that hook loose and breaking that line. So sometimes if they're big enough and they're taking off and they end up parallel with the bank, follow them. you really have to reel to pick up the line, but don't think don't assume that you're going to be okay to just stand here and reel it, 40 yards, 20 yards against the bank. It is going to come off, especially if it's a 10, 20, 30 pounder, 5 pounder, whatever. They're fighting for their life. They're going to find a way to come off. So keep that in mind. And by keeping that in mind, you want to make sure your path is clear and that you've kept in mind any obstructions, because whenever our heart rates will go up whenever we're catching a big fish like that. So you do want to it's exciting, but stay clear-headed and don't hurt yourself trying to catch the fish. All right, let's catch some fish. Hell yeah. We might have to pay attention to this. We might be taking off right now. Oh yeah. That's better than the last one. We're gonna have to move. Thank you, Chris. Good luck. Nice.
Oh, I'm missing so many chats. Roger G.
Slip in the water. These boat ramps are super slick.
Caleb Ware.
Line.
Eli Meyer.
Woo! I see some swirls down there. We don't want to land them down there. Yeah!
Ooh.
There we go. Come on. Burn up my shoulder. Go this way, bud. Woo! Oh, there he goes. Let him run a little bit. What are we doing, fellas? Oh, I don't want to land you over there. Hey, you got to take this. Oh, that's going to be a PB, I think. We're getting wet today. Don't have nothing else in my pockets. Oh, look at that big fatty. It's going to be interesting. I don't have nothing to land them with. Bare hands. Let's get on over. All right, Spencer, you're going to have to set that camera down with my hands. All right, don't worry about reeling. If he goes to run, just let him run. Don't have your hand on the fish. Come on over here, little fella. I got you. Daddy's got you. Bring him up a little closer, Spence. Oh, I got him. I think I got him. Ah, I got him this time. Woo-hoo-hoo! Yeah! That's good. All right.
Timmy said, nice one.
All right, fellers. Set that back up where you can see me. Can you see me good?
Yep.
We're gonna have to take this off live because I'm definitely measuring this one. We're gonna pull them rods in. I might have to go up to the truck, get them measured. Next, I don't know how long this is. My personal best is, I want to say 36 inches. I don't know if he beats that. We're about to go find out. Now this is what them whole live bluegills will get you out here on the Ohio River. Big old flathead. You seen earlier, we call it little flathead. So they're not always little, they're not always big, but they sure are fun every time. We're gonna let this go. Try not to do it too often.